need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
The first question today comes from Emily. Emily is writing from Sterling, Virginia, and she says, "Hi, Betsy. I'm starting work on a nursery, and I'm thinking about putting framed artwork over the changing table. Is this a bad idea? You've covered nursery design before, but I don't remember any episodes covering where design ideas meet safety concerns. Are there other safety concerns when designing a nursery? Thanks." Oh, goodness, yes. Goodness, yes. So I would never put anything framed over a changing table. And a frame means something, like a hard edge, right? It could be framed canvas that wouldn't necessarily have glass. It could be a framed picture, even if it's not glass, if it's an acrylic or plastic that covers the artwork. Because the little ones, while they're there laying down on their back, getting their diaper changed, can kick, can pull, can grab things they, of course, wouldn't be able to normally reach. So I prefer to do something like a macrame. I prefer to do something maybe just stretched on canvas, or a decal is always nice because then it's just stuck to the wall and they can't pull it down. If you feel really confident that you want to do something framed above a changing table, I would make sure that it's screwed into the wall at all four corners, or at least top and bottom, that it cannot move in any way, which typically damages the frame and makes it look less sophisticated. Then you'd have to use some wood putty or something to fix that. But I would want to make sure that no matter how it gets bumped or jostled, it would never come down. That's the most important thing. Even with the macrame, you're going to have the dowel rod at the top. There are things you want to be mindful of and make sure that they're very secure. So personally, decal is my favorite way to go above a changing table. Then you also want to be mindful above a crib, right? If initially the baby comes home and is just lying flat, we want to be thinking that that baby could possibly be in that crib for 2 or 3 years. And by that time, they're standing up, pulling on things again. So I like to be mindful that I don't want any framed piece above a crib either. We go back to the macrame, back to the decal, back to something soft, like even a tapestry. Um, or even maybe mural wallpaper behind that area. I do like to use a piece of artwork, a piece of framed artwork on a wall where it can be hung appropriately high so they can't pull it down. But I'm always very mindful of, can they reach? Can they jump? Could they climb on something? Speaking of climbing on something, we of course want those anti-tip kits so that you can fasten even something like a 3-drawer dresser to the wall. You want to be very careful with bookshelves, dressers, even nightstands. In a room with a child where a child has access, I really recommend those anti-tip kits. You can buy them separately from the furniture online at Amazon, or of course, most of them come with the furniture. What's another thought that I have? I mean, there's lots of baby tips, and I highly recommend, if you're really serious about this, that you hire someone like a baby proofing company. But as a designer, I tell the other designers I work for, no glass in a baby room at all. They could jump on the piece, they could, fall, things like that. I don't love hard edges, so I'm always asking myself, is it rounded? And I'm always imagining that the child could knock it over. So with a table lamp, I'm not going for anything ceramic. I would go for an acrylic base or a metal base. You just want to think about that worst case scenario. For a floor lamp, I like something that has like a tripod base, which makes it much harder to knock over. You just want to be thinking about all the different permutations of what that baby could do in the future, even if the baby's not doing much right now. That newborn is not moving, not rolling around. Soon it will be. And what kind of things could it get into? What kind of things could it lift up? What would be a problem? So I really love woven textures, but you want to be careful because some of them can be sharp if they're too baskety. I really like canvas bins that have handles so that they can pull it down themselves and you don't have to worry about any hard edges. Um, I love soft rugs, but I avoid anything too plush because then the baby could, lose things in the fibers like Cheerios, or sometimes those thicker, shaggier rugs do tend to shed. So your baby's drooling on her little hands, and then she touches the rug and she lifts those drooly hands up, and there's fibers all over it that she then puts in her mouth. Ugh, cringeworthy when I see a shag or a flocati on the floor in a nursery. If you want to have that sumptuous soft texture, do an amazing throw blanket that you drape over the glider. Do a little flocati over the back of the glider, but I really avoid it as a rug with a little crawler, little drooler. So those are just a few things that come to mind. I'm sure there's lots more. But again, Googling safety tips for kids' rooms or even paying a professional is just so worthwhile. I remember when I had babies, I lived in Park Slope, which is the land of babies, and there were so many services that would come to your home and point out all these things that you would never imagine could be a harmful situation that would need to be secured or changed. So consult with the pros, but those give you a few tips to start with. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.